What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're back to Akashi versus Gojo. So Akashi from Naruto and Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen The Honor and Truth. Now this is a video done by Settheprogrammer. Now the reason I find this fight so interesting, because like honestly, it's kind of like I'm just wondering like what, because my automatic thought to win is Gojo. And it's just because of Gojo's ability, the infinity, where he could just make, I probably simplifying this, but like just infinite. He can make like infinite spaces between him and his opponent, so they can never reach him. And then there are other things like purple hollow. Like I just don't see like, because like Akashi shouldn't be able to really catch Gojo in terms of speed because of that ability. So I'm really interested to see just what he's going to do and what steps are going to save his battle. Because my immediate thought is Jojo is going to Gojo, but let's get into this, guys. Let's see what we're going to be talking about. I'm excited.
White-haired elite teachers with
the two silver-haired foxes themselves,
demons within them, edgy black-haired kids from a clan, and smart females that ground the story.
I don't know about Sakura, that smart part.
Yeah, people make.
I gotta be a Sakura hater. Sakura was smart in some parts.
Let's get to business right away. The actual raw destructive powers of these characters
probably doesn't
matter that much if they were to fight. So, for a brief answer, most people would consider things such as the Bijou.
Kakashi should be above him, just in terms of sheer like power level and stuff like that.
And fighting the Akatsuki.
But Gojo hacks, I don't know.
Bijou plus their Shinobi, as stated in the data books, also known as Jinchuriki, and shown on screen as more impressive than Jujutsu Kaisen's higher feats, such as Dagon's domain expansion, where he creates something like a smaller tropical island in terms of the raw amount of energy output both verses have. It gets even worse when you incorporate Kakashi's
I know that moment
at the end of the series, where he's
clearly far above him.
Strong, or potentially even stronger than Naruto and Sasuke in their six-pack.
I don't know about stronger, but I think he's on the same level.
Slightly can nuke dimensions with planets, moons, and possibly stars in them, which JJK really doesn't have much that compares to that.
No,
unless
they get destroyed just of power.
In Dagon's domain in the manga is a star, then maybe it becomes more fair. Or unless you think Gojo is stronger than Hikari, even when he jackpots and gets infinite cursed energy, and ignore that infinite can just mean very great, and say Gojo can annihilate the whole universe or something. Anyway, most people tend to agree at least that Dual Mangekyo Sharingan Kakashi with his 6 pads amps in terms of raw power is stronger than what Gojo has shown thus far. So why am I saying it doesn't actually matter?
Because it's a hex.
It doesn't actually matter due to the fact that Kakashi just straight up will never hit Gojo Satoru with any normal attack whatsoever. Yes, I'm saying that Gojo's technique, the Limitless, would actually negate any of Kakashi's normal techniques or attacks, such as
he does say normal though,
and so on. But why would I, someone who is heavily against saying things that haven't been shown to work on much stronger people, say that this would work on Kakashi, who is potentially much stronger? It seems somewhat...
Yeah, but it's not like he's like out of reverse or something like that.
Because of the way Gojo's ability actually functions. And to be fair,
I love that
this video actually theorized that Gojo's infinity barrier technique, which basically stops anything from touching him, was just some barrier technique that, due to him having cursed energy,
it's a really just broken ability. That's why he's so popular.
Negate their attacks because they're weaker than him. But as I studied more into this, this is what I actually found.
Gojo's just a fucking boss, though, man. He is just a boss. It's too much math for me. It's too much math, man.
In Jump's Giga Summer, there was a special for JJK known as the Deep Learning Mathematics.
These are just two big, dick swinging sentences, though.
Brought on by Jump to discuss with
just silver-haired maniacs.
Professor at the Institute of Statistical Mathematics, and Mr. Sonoda, a research fellow at Institute of Physical and Chemical Research. They
I did not know this.
Hitters, or as they call them, special grade mathematicians.
Special grade.
And I'm not even joking.
Oh, really?
Actual theory dive on how they think the math behind Gojo's abilities worked, and it got so complicated that they just straight up said, so
this is not for me.
Ask your math teacher for help or something. It was really awkward.
This is not for me.
Considering this is worked on with the JJK editor,
it's not for me.
The story closely, and
it's too much math. I will fail.
It's pretty credible. So let's go into what they think of Gojo's abilities and why it's relevant for Kakashi versus Gojo. The lecture they give, like I said, and even they themselves say, is pretty complicated, and I'll sum it up for you guys in a few steps and theories that they give.
I was not good in math. It was not my thing.
Is that the Limitless, which draws a universal concept known as infinity to the forefront of a battle, actively creates and uses said infinity within any space Gojo desires between he and his opponent, which would explain his famous hand sign where he's showing like almost a pinch motion to Jogo. You're touching the infinity between us, as you can create an infinity between any distance.
So pretty much you can never catch him unless you can move at it spinny or faster.
Is infinite, but Gojo may be able to exaggerate every frame between something like 1 to 0 to create an infinity as well. An example being, take 1 and 0.
Oh no, that math class. Get pins, guys.
0.001, 0.00001, etc., etc., and any infinite amount
your
of
dash location
zeros you want in between 1 and 0 that way. Or if you need an even simpler example, say you have 1 and 0 and divide it by half, so 0.5. Say 1 and 0 are 2 different spots on your floor, then after you go halfway through it, go halfway again. Then again, then again, and then again. And you could technically keep having the remaining half distance.
So you could just redo it over and over again. Yep.
Any distance
okay, I get that.
Forever. Similar to the concept of Achilles and the tortoise proposed by an ancient Greek philosopher named Zeno, which Gojo, funny enough, actually brings up himself in the manga. The theory is that if Achilles
he's a smart boy,
raced a tortoise that was
he knows his history,
that the amount of distance between him and the tortoise would always be infinite and would require an infinite amount of steps to reach the tortoise. As Achilles, whenever he reached halfway to the tortoise, would continually have to keep going to the next halfway point between he and the tortoise over and over and over again.
Okay, I get it.
Since there are infinite halfway points, as whenever you reach halfway to something, there's a new halfway point, he'd have to do it forever. As there could theoretically be an infinite amount of points between any distance, not only theoretically.
There's a big brain stuff here, guys. Big brain.
But making Achilles move slower.
Way too big for my ass. My small ass brain.
As every halfway point remaining between him and the tortoise would just get smaller and smaller, until Achilles just looked like he wasn't moving anymore. Of course, you could debunk Zeno's tortoise paradox by quite literally punching him in the face and then saying, "Oh, I thought my fist would never reach you," or something. But in this universe of JJK, Gojo is implying that something like that would become more realistic, using infinity and cursed energy. As we know, there are many curse techniques that actually manipulate reality, with Limitless and Gojo probably not being too dissimilar. And in fact, Gojo actually says he can create impossibilities using these techniques in the manga himself, but something that is more likely is actually something that Gojo sort of also implies. The next theory would then be is something like the Riemann series theorem.
All this big brain math shit is too much for me, guys. I'm being serious. Like, oh my god, I'm just sitting here listening to this stuff. I'm just like, yeah, but he is making a lot of sense. That's the thing I thought would come to real. It's just like I didn't just see how Kakashi could deal with something like him literally creating infinite upon infinite numbers of just like spaces between. Like, how's Kakashi ever supposed to read this? Because Kakashi doesn't have infinite speed or any like higher tail of speed scan that would allow him to be able to really do that. So, but he did say normal attacks. So I'm interested to see what he's going to do, because you could say that Kakashi could just put Gojo under a Genjutsu. And with him being strong, there's really no way he would be able to escape and would just cut his throat off right there. Maybe that's what he's going to say. That's what I'm thinking right now, because I thought like Kakashi could just probably put him under a Genjutsu or something like that. You know, and just like, or maybe fake him out with a Shadow Clone. Now, I know Gojo is like super intelligent. He says it's a genius, but maybe, because Kakashi is also genius. Maybe, we'll see. But especially, I think Dual Miyako Sharingan would definitely be able to put him in the Genjutsu.
Which is way too much to fully explain in this video, but in short,
please don't
explain how Gojo could manipulate space using infinity and limitless to diverge something this way or change its distance, even with an infinite series that ends with a finite result. Here's an example using something called the alternating harmonic series.
What the hell is that?
Convergent series, which is once again something Gojo mentions, and rearranging it to change its result.
You can see Jujutsu Kaisen is very big on education.
Let me show you an example.
There's a lot of stuff like that in the manga.
You start with 1, and then you subtract 1/2.
Okay.
Add 1/3.
All right.
Minus 1/4.
All right.
Add 1/5.
Okay.
Minus 1/6.
Gotcha.
Add 1/7.
Almost there.
And then you do this forever. You basically create a series, and then the result of that would actually be a logarithmic 2, and I'll show why that is on the screen.
So I'm a math teacher then.
Something you could
just try to explain this shit to kids forever and forever.
Say you then go 1. Then minus 1/2, then minus 1/4, plus 1/3, minus 1/6.
My brain is hurting.
Plus 1/5, minus 1/10, and then so on and so on.
Okay.
If you kept everything that was in the original series but changed the order, it would actually be half the results of the original.
Okay.
So by simply changing the
Confusing
order
face.
of our series, or our conditionally convergent series, or alternating harmonic series, we actually get half the result of what we got despite it having the same exact things within it, just in a different order. The theory then is that Gojo can manipulate orders of space between he and his opponent with positive and negative things like blue, red, etc., which can manipulate space,
Yeah.
and thus change the actual distance between he and his opponent, negating any attack that comes towards him, as they just
I guess.
diverge and never reach him regardless of strength. As has been somewhat proven using Riemann theorem, you could get any result between 2 points if you can freely reorganize the series between them like Gojo is implied to be able to do. The final theory is that Gojo is sort of manipulating the concepts of near and far and giving the perception that his opponents are moving farther than they actually are.
Yeah.
With an example being he
pretty much like mind manipulation.
become more dense the closer you get to him.
It really is just like
just
a broken ass ability, man.
And so on. There's a lot more to be said about this, but I don't want to get into detail because
I know, right?
disagree with the idea of perception manipulation being what Limitless is. Examples of this being in Gojo versus Jogo. Yeah, really interesting names. Jogo shoots a fire blast that completely surpasses the distance and all around Gojo, yet it doesn't actually touch him.
Yes, I don't think it's just perception manipulation.
Jogo's fireball's perception, then confusing their
like
perception.
some
It doesn't really
Aizen level shit.
to be the case. This also happens whenever Gojo is clearly within an explosion.
No, Aizen ability just because of that.
His entire body or the entire area. So unless the Gojo we are seeing is an illusion, which doesn't seem to be the case, then it is not perception manipulation. However, that theory isn't technically impossible either. Finally,
it can make impossible situations.
I'll just tell you all what I believe is the Limitless technique, and it's probably the most simple answer.
Go ahead,
in
Professor.
The Jujutsu Kaisen movie for Volume 0, we see a Jujutsu sorcerer named Miguel face Gojo, and he explains Gojo's red.
I have not seen the movie yet.
Who is Gojo's basically best friend. And in the manga, he states that Gojo manipulates space on an atomic level, but in the movie adaptation, which many in the JJK fandom consider still canon due to the author's comments on many, many reasons, actually says that Gojo manipulates not just space, but Gojo actually manipulates space-time itself.
That makes sense.
Actually an extension of the Limitless.
Well, shit, you might be able to get me universal with that.
In the Summer Jump special earlier.
Probably not, but if you want to go far, you could.
State that he manipulates space-time to actually manipulate the distance between he and his opponents using theories like Zeno's paradox.
That makes sense, though. He's manipulating space-time.
Begins to make a lot more sense.
It does.
The way he fights his opponents, warping their bodies, his ability to teleport, his ability to manipulate distance between he and others, the ability to.
It's just all manipulating, just manipulating space-time.
Things from existence with things like purple, and even the ability to float in the air and seemingly remove his mass. All things make much more sense with this concept in mind.
Yep.
This would also explain why Gojo, while trapped in, say, the timeless prison realm, spoiler, can still affect the realm and surprise a extremely intelligent character named Kenjaku and talk while there is no time within it, as
timeless spirit realm.
Manipulate time and space.
Yeah.
Either that, or Gojo can just move without time, and he's just beyond infinitely fast.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say to you. I was like, oh shit, because if he's in a time without space, that is, if we're going on the speed here, that's inaccessible speed. Depending on some people are say or immeasurable, but I was going with accessible because that means he's able to. Actually, that would be immeasurable because he's able to move to a place without time, which is crazy. While accessible is to give you the ability to move fast enough, you can move through time, stuff like that. So, shit, Gojo could have like immeasurable speed. Then Kakashi would really never be able to hit him, even without his ability, if he has that, man. Oh my god, but it doesn't make sense that he can just control space and time, and that's why he can sit there. That makes a lot more sense to him actually being like immeasurable levels of speed. Or beyond time and space speed.
Also makes much more sense when later characters are stated to manipulate.
Like, that's a hard argument.
Such as Takubo's power of comedian, where he can make anything he finds funny literally a reality, and it still would only oppose Gojo, not outright defeat him. The abilities like Red, which Gojo explains as a void in space, and even Hollow Purple, which is based on a negative
broken ass abilities
in reality that removes things from existence using imaginary numbers and concepts, also makes much more sense with this. Shonen Jump's objective conclusion at the end of the math segment, without any theories or whatever, their final statement was this: using the limitless curse technique Red and Blue, Gojo can do conversion and change the scale of distance between him and his opponent. Of course, that is a simple breakdown.
Yeah, that's what I need. I need simple, because that's what I am.
That Gojo only slows people down.
I'm not big brain Seth over here.
However, also in this special, it states that it slows them down and then stops them as well. Due to these space-time manipulations and highly likely theories of how infinity works, Kakashi would more than likely never just be able to say simply punch Gojo in the face like you could to Zeno.
But he does have other things.
Paradox. So does this mean Kakashi can't beat Gojo? No. This is actually where the real fight would then
there we go.
Battle of the Mangekyo Sharingan
big boy time
versus the Six Eyes. If Kakashi was ever
pretty ass eyes
Gojo with conventional attacks, and Gojo is even remotely powerful enough to damage or put Kakashi on guard,
which he's really not. Maybe with the erasing ability, but he doesn't have really the power to hurt him.
With dual Mangekyo, Kakashi resorting to the Kamui Shuriken and Kamui Raikiri, respectively. Some people believe that if a character can move at light speed, that they can actually bypass Gojo's Limitless, since Gojo manipulates space and time on an atomic level, and light is made of photons, which are smaller than the atoms that Gojo is stated to manipulate. The reason this wouldn't work with Kakashi is because even if Kakashi did move at light speed, theoretically, he himself is not just photons. He's just moving as fast as light, which would be made of photons.
It's not like he's breaking down in the first half.
But yes, he would still need his Mangekyo powers. The next one is people thinking you can blitz and bypass infinity with speed beyond what it is shown to stop before. However, unfortunately, after Gojo faces Toji, his infinity is usually pretty much always active, and due to the discussion earlier, would just always be warping space around his body to permanently diverge anything that goes through said space to never touch him regardless of finite speed. It's not a speed or reactionary thing, it's just the literal space around him doesn't lead to him in any conventional way. One reason people think this is because when Gojo was initially mastering his Limitless barrier, that it used
so that means if you had like something like inaccessible and invisible, you wouldn't be able to touch him?
Currently say that he has a passive barrier that is always active.
Well, that means that would you need a relevant speed to actually touch them?
Manually afterward if he has to. He also has
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
That infinitely regenerates and thus Limitless is always active.
He really is broken.
Like giving Gojo a lot of the benefit of the doubt, which I am, to be fair. But this does not mean Kakashi can't win, as I stated earlier. And even if it is and giving both sides the benefit of the doubt and still proving a conclusion makes it much more convincing than if I were to try to downplay Gojo or not give him everything he has, which I'll show you. Anyway, let's get to the actual Mangekyo power.
You could just plus on Jutsu, right?
Kakashi's ability to rip open a hole in space and time into the Kamui realm would straight up rip Gojo in half, at least the normal variation of Kamui. And assuming that Gojo we always see isn't some kind of illusion or something, and Kakashi wouldn't just be...
That wouldn't make sense, because he's literally ripping space in half and half.
Which I would extremely doubt, since when he fought Toji and turned off his Limitless Curse technique and deactivated Infinity, Gojo was still where everyone thought he was, etc. Anyway, Kamui doesn't actually travel to someone, so it wouldn't actually travel through the Infinity between him and Gojo. It would actually spawn or just appear on Gojo's body and then just start ripping him in half. You could argue that Kakashi might spawn Kamui on Infinity when he's looking at Gojo, since Infinity is technically between...
This is very interesting. I did not think of this.
However, due to Infinity actually being everywhere at all times, you don't actually perceive or visually see this Infinity. Gojo more so manipulates what's always around everyone with a curse technique.
And he breaks into reality.
You actually see just Gojo, and if he spawned a Kamui, it would spawn on Gojo's body, in which the only way he's surviving it is if he can manipulate the spatial properties of his own body to just sort of negate being spatially warped away.
I don't know if he can do that though.
But once again, judging off of that,
he's been stabbed before.
He seems to actually take damage even after his cursed energy can reactivate, and he doesn't just reform everything in his body normally. It seems like he has to regenerate. So from there, we have to actually gauge the speed of Kamui versus Gojo to make sure he can't just teleport away from it using blue or whatever and run like Datara did, because if you guys didn't know, Gojo can actually teleport with a hand sign, sort of like flying Raijin, but just by clapping his hands together. If we
really broken guy.
Kakashi's Kamui as an example, and not DMS yet, were Kakashi alongside Obito's Kamui, amping the Kamui's speed to 2 times, could react and warp things faster than Ten Tails Madara's True-Seeking Orbs. These True-Seeking Orbs are able to somewhat move comparatively in speed to Might Guy in the 8th Gate and 7th Gate, with characters like Minato, Gaara, Gatedly, and Kakashi.
This is really interesting. I'm just wondering what...
otherwise, although they could react to them. With all these characters being much faster than the likes of Haku from the Land of Waves, who could fling himself between mirrors at the speed of light, which Guy and Rock Lee also react to during the war.
And also some light moments.
Kakashi, who could chop a lightning bolt in half in the middle of the air. The True-Seeking Orb should also be faster than Darwee's Laser Circus, which is literally just light reflect.
Alright guys, this is crazy, man, because like, it makes sense, because the whole time I'm sitting here, I'm like, how is he really going to be able to beat him? And then he said the whole infinite space, so I'm like, which I like, even with accessible speed or invisible speed, like whatever speed he should be able to touch him. But like with those, would he not be able to touch him? Like I don't know. And the more he was explaining how he just manipulates and just controls space and time, I was like, how the fuck is Kakashi supposed to even be able to hurt this dude? But like, so Kami really ripping a hole just in space and time itself. It would make sense how he would be able to hurt him. Because I was like, but I also think he could just put him in a Genjutsu, like literally. I'm like, I mean, I guess I forget. You actually have to look at his eyes for him to do that. But like, he could possibly maybe put him in a Genjutsu. There are some Genjutsus where you don't need to look at his eyes to be able to do that. You know, so I think there are ways Kakashi could be actually having to touch him, really, or like we have him try to like grab him, stuff like that. But we'll see, because right now all that math shaking on my brain, I'm just like, oh my god, it's just too much. But it just shows to me just how broken Gojo is. Like, the dude is crazy, manipulating space and time, teleporting information, ripping shit apart. Like, it's crazy, man.
And then moving through the
air. But the Jujutsu powers are crazy, though.
Kage and Killer Bee's Lariat, which usually is in base or with a few version 1 one-tailed cloaks, which is stated to move at the speed of light in the data books. Kakashi also uses this Kamui to rip off Deidara's arm while he's in mid-combat, despite his Kamui being in a much weaker state.
Yeah, he was not nearly as strong as he is with the Chumakuro Sharingan, so his Kage used to be a lot more powerful.
He can also react to pain in mid-combat and so forth. It's implied to at least be relative in speed to him at the
This is really just like a huge dicking contest, though. Just some measurement.
Actually have a lot of speed feats, and it actually all clocks.
Like, obviously, it's like, Gojo, my hacks are stronger than yours. But Kakashi, I have some hacks I can. Maybe I'll hack you.
This isn't to say that Gojo couldn't be faster. It's just that we don't really know. Sort of like a Saitama situation. You just sort of assume he's much faster than what we've seen.
Yeah.
Unless you think him reacting to, say, something like Jogo in his domain gives him instantaneous reaction speed, as domains always hit their target pretty much instantly. Or you think he has some kind of infinite speed for talking in a realm without time, like the prison realm later. With those, Gojo
could be in Mesro speed or inexorable,
and then avoid Kamui.
I don't know. I am not
pretty much gets ripped in two, and that's about
the same level as Seth.
If Gojo can survive Kamui, he can then activate his own domain expansion called Limitless Void. Limitless Void spawns an orb around its target and is guaranteed to hit its opponent. Super crazy. It's kind of a point of the versus ability. Inside this domain, Gojo kind of injects the target with multiple different infinities worth of information. That sounds insane.
It really does.
Worth, but I'm not actually exaggerating.
It's insane. It really broke a technique.
Saw an apple in his life one time. And instead of seeing this apple or hearing an apple an infinite amount of times, Kakashi would first see, hear, and perceive the letter A from apple infinitely first, then P,
yep.
the next P,
it's crazy,
and then apple for infinity, over and over and over again. This happens until the target absorbs so much information that they cannot move.
They just brick.
Die.
It's such an overpowered baby, man.
What this looks like is in 0.2 seconds, the Limitless Void will inject 6 months of information into its target.
Oh my god.
Seconds. For reference, remember that the Tsukuyomi in Naruto Part 1 that Itachi used on Kakashi gave him 3 days worth of pain and information, and he was sent to the hospital. While I think Tsukuyomi is a little bit stronger than Limitless Void isn't an illusion, and isn't something the Sharingan can simply reflect.
I don't know if it is. I thought it was like stronger than that. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Itself. Also, Itachi did only give Kakashi 3 days.
It's such a just overpowered ability, man.
To spare him and go easy on
these anime characters are getting more hacks and hacks as the years go by.
Entire life instantly and make you die in an instant. In this case, Gojo is pretty much somewhat similar and can actually give you actual infinities and information you can't just reflect or avoid. Due to this, Gojo would more than likely be able to actually kill Kakashi, at least pre-DMS, with his domain expansion or pre-Mangekyo Kakashi. Especially if Kakashi can't hurt Gojo with conventional attacks and can't land calmly for whatever reason. It's pretty much guaranteed that Part 1 Kakashi is getting bodied by Gojo. But, as I implied, that is unless you think with DMS or even Mangekyo Sharingan, Kakashi has the mind space and ocular prowess to handle infinite amounts of information.
Sorry guys, I had to stop the video there for a minute. But, like, I mean, it's just crazy because you think about, like, Gojo is just such a threat, man. Like, with his abilities, he's such a threat to so many characters. It's a reason why people say he really is broken. Now, it depends on, obviously, character. There are some characters just way beyond his level to really do anything. But, like, if you're not, like, he can just be a dangerous point to anybody, man. Like, he can just teleport or reach him resistance, make so you can't touch him, give you, like, infinite information to your brain, just breaks and explodes. Like, it's crazy.
space and ocular prowess to handle infinite amounts of information. A good example is how Itachi can actually generate that kind of information and tolerate himself using his
so maybe they could take it.
DMS Kakashi easily surpassing Itachi's ocular prowess and could even potentially surpass or rival the top tiers of the entire Naruto Shippuden verse, like Six Paths Naruto, Renegon Sasuke, Ten Tails of Madara, and etc. He can also spam Kamui and is intangible at will, although his Kamui is more projectile based with
oh shit, guys, sorry. Sorry guys, I hate having to stop it so many times with the ad, but I mean it does make sense because like you said, he's been able to like Itachi able to get information with the getting at you, make you live your whole life and stuff. So maybe with the Sharingan, he could handle infinite information, but I don't know. That makes it like almost like too big of a jump, maybe a little bit, but I could definitely see that.
With Shuriken, so it's more debatable if it would actually go through infinity just straight up. It's possible he could cut through the manipulated space of Gojo's infinity, however. One last final thing to go over for Kakashi's sake. This mainly would only apply to Part 1 Kakashi, as I mainly discussed the main win con for Kakashi during the War Arc and DMS, which is the premise of this video, is his Mangekyo abilities, his space-time manipulation, and his resistances. But for Part 1 Kakashi, an interesting win con since he doesn't have Mangekyo abilities.
Yeah, how would Part 1 win?
Necessarily use them since he could barely use his normal Sharingan, is of course his Genjutsu and his ocular Genjutsu abilities. The reason I didn't really talk about this too much, once again, due to the win cons, and also because
he probably doesn't need them.
On other universes could be its own video topic entirely. Genjutsu
big arguments.
Either works only on people that are born with a chakra network within them, which is sort of a Naruto exclusive thing. It's almost like a circulatory system, but for
it's kind of like this different energy will work in different anime. When those abilities only affect those
wouldn't necessarily
proven the anime.
A chakra network. It's sort of like a biological difference. But if you were to equate chakra and say cursed energy, and say that Kakashi could use Genjutsu and ocular Genjutsu on someone like Gojo, then you'd be able to...
Yeah, I think you could say that he could be able to get him.
On Gojo, and considering that Gojo is sort of a loudmouth and might tell Kakashi how things like infinity work...
He would do it just to be an ignorant dick, because he's just so strong. Yeah.
About how his abilities work.
Yep, he'd just be like, I'll get you.
IQ over 200 higher than Shikamaru's in Shippuden would probably be able to deduce how infinity works, or that Gojo has to activate it, and using his ocular jutsu, which he uses against Zabuza in Land of Waves, he'd be able to hypnotize Gojo into thinking he's using infinity when he's actually not, which is kind of an interesting win con if you think Part 1 Kakashi is strong enough to kill Gojo, as well as the fact that if you think
I think Part 1 is the hardest to win though.
Have any illusion or mental,
but like you say, if he's ever get to
just a powerhouse, no one
lose on him, he probably win.
Ocular jutsu and Genjutsu might not work against Gojo if you actually think that infinity would just deflect or block all chakra interference that Kakashi would be sending to Gojo's body. As you know, things like ocular Genjutsu, specifically Mangekyo Genjutsu in the novels, actually injects your chakra into the
so when he be able to actually hit him,
infinity actually determines that as a threat, or Gojo would determine that as a threat, or even if you just say infinity would just do it anyway, then the chakra that is being used during the Genjutsu would never actually reach Gojo's body and would just simply diverge, and even then Genjutsu wouldn't work either. So that's why I didn't really bring it up and make it too much of a focus of this video. It's not important really at all. The main win cons are, once again, how fast do you think Gojo is?
This battle's been crazy so far.
We can rip him in half and bypass infinity. And do you think maybe Gojo's has infinite power or something crazy like that? With that, I'll leave it up to you guys. It depends on what speed you think Gojo has. Do you think he reacts to instantaneous attacks in Jogo's domain? Is he moving in a timeless void due to his speed? Do you think Gojo has infinite power due to scaling above Hakari's jackpot, etc., etc.? Do you think the DMS can handle infinite void?
So he's pretty much putting in our place,
which is described as above time and space and all earthly things. Would Kakashi just blitz Kamui destroy Gojo before a fight even began? Etc., etc., etc. Regardless, it's a pretty interesting matchup, and I hope you guys learned something. Personally, I could see why you could argue for either, and I'd love to see what you guys think, as this is probably one of the more interesting and awesome matchups I've had to look into for quite a while, actually. But as a final fun fact for this video, and in fact, might be the most important fact of the video. Did you know that Akutami, the author of Jujutsu Kaisen, actually comments on Gojo versus Kakashi?
Really?
I'm not joking. So the creator of Gojo actually says this. In the JJK fan book, I often hear people say that it's cool that Gojo has powers like Kakashi.
Wow!
What I can say to that is that...
So even the creator, I did not know, that's cool. I didn't know that Jujutsu Kaisen creator himself actually commented. That's crazy. Oh my god. I'm kind of disappointed because I wanted Seth to really give us his answer. I mean, but he gave us different scenario, which is he's done before. He'll give us different scenarios of like, hey, you guys pick which one, this scenario. I mean, honestly, if we're looking, I do think Kakashi could beat him with probably some of his other abilities, if I'm being personal myself. I don't want to doubt the argument because this is a crazy argument. I don't think he'd be able to touch him, though. I really don't. I think Kakashi just have the ability to, but like, you know, as far as like speeding wise, you know, unless Gojo just let his affinity down for some ass reason. But like, I just don't see like how he could touch him. But I do think he definitely, especially double Mangekyo Sharingan, is way above him in terms of power. And there are some crazy feats you can go, like you said, with the whole economy being above space and time and all earthly things, that you know, and like there are always arguments you can make just wink characters. There's a way you could wink Gojo to crazy levels if you want to, like I said, just weaken his speed and stuff like that. So I don't know, guys. It's really up to you and see what you guys think. But like I do think Kakashi has the ability to win with his other abilities. But it's crazy how he even thinks Gojo can't win.
That he's not really on the same level as Kakashi Sensei. So this is more than likely him implying that Gojo is inferior to Kakashi, at least in terms of their powers. Whether this is DMS Kakashi, Boruto Kakashi, or just normal War Art Kakashi is debatable.
But the fact he doesn't,
DMS
yeah,
Kakashi,
that's probably the
DMS
best version.
Kakashi, like I said,
has the best version.
Busting god, basically, and has a lot of things that could potentially counter Gojo, like Kamui spam and things like that. And it's also him at his strongest at the end of Naruto Shippuden, whereas War Art Kakashi would just sort of be like a random middleman Kakashi to decide. It's kind of arbitrary. And Boruto Kakashi, we haven't seen the full abilities of. Either that, or Akutami is saying Gojo would slam Kakashi on his neck, which would be surprising, to say the least. Not impossible, but surprising. Anyway, thank you for watching.
I mean, but he didn't say it though. He clearly said Kakashi's not on the same level. He's not on the same level with Kakashi, unless he's like insane like Kirito was. But he did say power, so to me, I'm taking it as saying like he doesn't think he could beat Kakashi. And like I said, it makes it because Naruto has some wacky skill and they could really use if they really want to do that. But again, this was a great fight. I love Seth. That's what he breaks things down. He made the math somewhat simple for me, so my brain just didn't explode like Goku's unlimited boy technique on me. Like it just didn't explode from all the different math equations and shit. I was like, oh my god, like it's math class all over again. I'm like, oh my god, I'm just staring. I'm just staring at the screen like I was staring at my paper in math class, man. But anyway, guys, this was great. I had a lot of fun doing this, man. This was an awesome reaction. It's such a cool battle because I do think double Kakashi, my second MS, double MS Kakashi wins. I do think he could beat Gojo just with his other abilities, especially with his Kami and stuff. But any other version like that, I don't know, it's hard because, like I said, if you can prove that Genjutsu can work on him, then like you said, if it doesn't just work on him because he doesn't have chakra or the infinitely reflects the chakra, like then I think with a gig, he hasn't been shown to be resistant to that type of stuff. So I do think he'd be able to slice his neck off with that if he was able to get him under a Genjutsu. But like, yeah, or if you want to believe that because the Sharingan can do stuff like that, they can like give people information that they be able, that limit void won't be able to affect them. I don't know, but I do think Kakashi in some situations can win. I do think Gojo beats all the other versions though. Like I don't think Boruto Kakashi will be able to do anything. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you thumbs, subscribe, and share. There'll be link no description to the channel, there'll be link no description to the original channels with the original video. Please go to them. Please go support Seth. This is all him. He did all this. I applaud for that because I know it's had to be crazy to go around and find all this stuff and break this video down. So please get that stuff to him. If you guys want to follow my social media where you can request stuff and react to, or even just talk, have conversations, if you want to talk about even this, make sure you can follow me on my social media, but link below the description as well. So make sure to go follow me on there. And let me know your thoughts on the comments. So if you guys think wins, Kakashi goes, I know it's gonna probably be a ton of different comments. I can really see arguments over either way. But personally, like I said, I just lean more towards a little bit, a little bit more where I think Kakashi with the double like a Sharingan could win. But like I said, there's different ways you could hype up both characters. You could really hype them both up if you wanted to. But like if you just gave Gojo like the infinite speed or instant speed, whatever, like or even more, now then like Kakashi wouldn't be able to touch him no way. He gets blitzed easily. But other than that, like I do think Kakashi, especially dual MSS Kakashi is far above him in terms of just speed and power. So like I do think Kakashi, especially with his other base like Kami and stuff, like he would be able to get him. I think different Kami, he'll be able to get him. But let me know your thoughts down below, and let's like cracks. I'm out. Peace, guys.